Well, Fox Family is committed to you. In 2 weeks, Greenville County Council will vote on whether to increase property taxes, and the focus is on a millage rate increase. This is video from a heated meeting on Tuesday night where people voiced their concerns with the county on what may happen if the rate is increased or not. Now, we wanted to look deeper into this issue, so we sat down with 2 council members, and yesterday we spoke to one who voted against the increase. And for much more on this millage rate increase, we now want to bring in District 22 Councilman for the Greenville County. It is Stan Juvalakis here with us now. And Councilman, thank you so much for joining us. This is the first millage rate increase in 30 years. Why now? I think that's the question that everyone has on their minds.
Well, that's a great question. You know, we've got a county administrator's been in, they have 100 years of experience between the county administrator and his staff. And we will put he's got great experience. So my question is, why do we get why does this get put on us now?
Sure.
You know, that's a great question, and that's what we still don't understand. And I don't think you know, of course, I'm not in favor of it, and don't understand why we got put it on us so soon.
Yeah, you had put forth amendments last night to reduce that increase from 11% down to 7%. And that's the one that passed. We're now one step away from that being enacted, that 7% increase. So when it comes to this money, where is the money going with all this growth? It seems like we're going to have tens of millions of dollars coming in with this growth for discretionary funds. So where is that going?
Yeah, well, that's a great question as well. So I mean, look, here's the thing. Councilor Shaw and myself had amendments ready, and also made some amendments last night that would have taken about half of the total millage increase down. Okay, and then miraculously last night, the county administrator came up with, you know, what he came up with, which reduced it. So between the two, we ought to be able to fund the government without tax increases. You know, and we were also told, what was amazing was that we were told that we could not have the whole tax increase without deputies being cut.
Sure.
Or their salaries being cut. And so last night they found, you know, 15, you know, what was it? We went from 22.5% down to 15% millage tax increase. Right. You know, and so I'm glad we reduced it. Our efforts are working between Councilor Shaw and myself, and we had some other brave councilors last night that got on board and voted against it, and we're grateful for them. And we still got some work to do, but I think we can get there.
So when we say 7% mill rate increase, what does that look like from the average homeowner's perspective and that dollar figure that would be really leaving their pockets and going to the county?
Well, let's talk about that. That what we've been told, that it's about on $100,000. It's $50, I believe we heard. Okay. On. Isn't that what we've been hearing? That other councilors have been sharing. County administrator, I believe, has been sharing on $100,000 is $50. Well, but you got to remember, and that was the 23% millage tax increase. But you got to remember, that's on your cars, that's your boats, that's your buildings. Right. That's on these buildings we're sitting in right now. So that tax increase hits us all. And also, you got to remember the school district just raised their millage or their taxes, right? They Monday night. Yeah. So the citizens of Greenville County are getting hit like they've never been hit in a long time, and we keep growing like we're growing. And one other thing I want to say: do you realize in 2020 we've from 20 to 24 now, we've raised our and we've increased our budget $100 million. Wow. $100 million. Do you know how many people we've grown by? 30,000 from 20 to 24.
Okay.
Now do the math.
So is this mill rate increase, is it something where council has their backs against the wall and they need to pull some more funds to pay for other things? Did we overspend?
Well, that's what we've been told. We've been told that they need more money so we don't lose deputies and first responders.
Right.
Okay. However, last night, and we were told you couldn't reduce it at all. Right. Couldn't reduce it, we'll lose deputies. And then last night they dropped it. They agreed to drop it, right? County administrator came up with a plan. His office, he came up with a plan to reduce the taxes. Right. Okay. Well, I didn't understand why all of a sudden we could and then we couldn't. You know, we were told we couldn't reduce it, but Councilor Shaw and I found ways to reduce it along with other councilors, a few other councilors. And now I think we can reduce it more, and I don't think we need to we won't need to not have more deputies or salaries not you know, I don't want people to be afraid they're not going to be paid, because that's not the case.
Right. It seems like, and you're a council member, but it seems like you have as many questions as we do here. Where is the transparency in all of this?
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, you know, I've actually introduced bills for more transparency, but they're stuck in committee. But that's another story for another time. Okay. But that we need to be looking. The people, the citizens of Greenville County, need to see the budget more than 2 or 3 weeks ago before they did. And even me, I'm just getting it. We're just getting it. Most councilors work. So, you know, we have a lot to digest when we look at a budget this size.
Something moving forward, too, and I know this is a ways out, but it plays into a factor now when we have reassessment coming in a year and a half.
Exactly.
That's going to be even more.
Yeah, that's right. So now,
Okay.
now we have the school board, we have the county tax, Greenville County, and now we have the increased millage, the assessments that are coming up 25. So we are, as citizens in Greenville County, going to be hit more than we've ever been taxed, more than we've ever been taxed before. And they keep talking about it's the first one in 30 years, like we need to celebrate it. Well, it is good, but we don't, because it is the first tax in 30 years. We don't need to be worn out with a new tax because we hadn't taxed. Greenville County is a low tax, good place to live, and that's why people continue to come here from all over the world.
Okay, Councilman, hopefully we can find some answers going into the next meeting, which happens in 2 weeks.
2
correct?
weeks, and that would be the third reading. So we still got time. This budget has not passed as of right this minute. Yeah. You know, as you know. So so we've got to go to the next reading before it does. So hopefully we'll be able to make some changes somehow.
Yeah, probably have some more people coming out than you had last night.
Yes,
so.
They had a big crowd last night.
All right, Councilman, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, in response to that interview yesterday, we sat down with County Chairman Dan Tripp today. He voted in favor of the millage rate increase and says it's necessary. And Chairman, thank you so much for joining us. I think the exact same question that I asked Councilman Juvelakis. A lot of people are wondering why now. This is the first mill rate increase, the proposal in 30 years. So why are we doing this now?
Right. Listen, you can only cut to the bone so many years. I mean, for the last 30 years, we've made tough choices every year, every cycle, and we just got to the point where we couldn't. Our budget is 85% personnel. 61% of that is law enforcement. Okay. So you cut, all of a sudden you're cutting deputies, you're cutting EMS. And as chairman, I just couldn't fathom telling someone, well, we can't come to your house for another 30 minutes because we don't have the position. So it's just one of those things that we've pushed it off as long as we can. Councils before us have kicked the can down the road, and we just couldn't do that anymore.
And you were able to get it down from 11% to 7%.
From 11 mills to 7 mills, right.
Yeah. So where was that wiggle room then?
So process-wise, the administrator proposes the budget, council disposes of the budget. Sure. And so that comprehensive amendment that we passed was part of our disposition. So we went to the administrator and said, we got to find some cuts. We got to find some ways to get the millage down, the millage increase down. And so things like the Conisty Dam. There is a real problem, Conisty Dam. If that dam blows, everybody between here and Greenville is going to be suffering, and there's huge consequences. So we had $2.5 million in the budget for that. What we did was we cut that $2.5 million down to $500,000 and did $500,000 for the next 5 years. Okay. So we looked for surgical cuts that we could do in the budget that wouldn't jeopardize law enforcement or EMS or other things in the budget.
One other, those opposed to this increase saying that we're going to have a lot of money coming in, tens of millions with growth.
Right.
It's because we've had significant growth in Greenville County. So where is that money going?
That's actually not true.
Okay.
We have significant growth, absolutely, but what most people don't understand is a 4% homeowner, that pays 4% property taxes on their home. For every dollar we get from them, it costs us $1.57 in services. So if you just take out the growth, if you just isolate that 4% growth, we're actually going in the hole. The only way we're able to sustain what we're going through in the budget is by industrial growth, which pays 10% in property taxes. Okay. So that is a big misnomer that all this growth is actually a good thing. It's from a financial standpoint, it's not.
Now, at this point, it may not be a good thing from that financial standpoint you were saying, but
Right.
in a year and a half, we have reassessment.
Right.
Now, would that kick things up?
No.
Councilman Juvlak is saying taxpayers are going to be hit like never before.
No, that's not true. In fact, by law, we're not allowed to profit from reassessment. In fact, if you look back over the last 28 years, we've actually reduced millage, I think 5 or 6 times, because what happens if reassessment jumps up, we actually reduce millage. That's by law. Okay. So that's a misnomer.
So after hearing from the councilman and yourself, it kind of seems like there's a lot of he said, some, and you're saying some misnomers, some misunderstandings.
Right.
So where is the middle ground? Because we still have another reading in 2 weeks, and then it would be enacted. So where is the compromise?
Well, it's not so much about compromise. Okay. It's about understanding the facts of the budget. Mark Twain said, facts are stubborn things, statistics and opinions are pliable. And so what I'm telling you, our Stan and other folks came out and said, we're raising taxes by 23%. Well, that's simply not the case. We are not raising taxes by 23%. If you look at your property tax bill, county portion of property taxes is 15%, okay? The millage for our sliver of property taxes went up 23%. The average tax bill went up 3%. Okay. So after the cuts that we made the other night, for every $100,000 in taxable property on your home, it would be $28. Okay? So if you have a $200,000 home, that'd be $56. Every dollar that goes, out of your pocket is something that we value and we respect, but it's, we had to make a tough choice. Are we going to cut law enforcement, or are we going to ask the folks in Greenville County, the taxpayers in Greenville County, after 38 years we've been responsible, we're asking for, a little bit of a modest increase in millage. Mm-hmm. The problem is, school board does it every year and no one says a thing. Municipalities, they take the increases every year and no one says a thing. We've kind of suffered in silence for the last 28 years because we have tried to be fiscally responsible. Mm-hmm. But the middle ground is for Stan and others on his team to come to the table and understand the budget process and look at what we're trying to do. We're trying to be responsible without cutting law enforcement. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. You can't say, well, we're not going to cut law enforcement, we're not going to make any cuts on personnel, but we just have to somehow make up for a $32 million shortfall. Yeah. Well, you can't do that. You got to, the money, math, back to Mark Twain, facts are stubborn things. Mm-hmm. And so we're trying to be responsible, and I think if you sit down and look at the budget, if you take just a few minutes to really dig into the numbers, I think you'll see what we're doing is conservative. We're not jacking prices up. We're not growing county government. We're just trying to preserve the status quo so that people have, law enforcement that shows up when there's a problem, when they have a medical problem, EMS shows up. That's all we're trying to do.
Okay, Chairman, it seems like there's still a lot to hammer out between
Right.
you and the rest of the council members. So
Right.
We've got another reading coming up in 2 weeks. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Now, you heard the county administrator's office mentioned a couple of times there, so we reached out to his office and asked about this increase, and they told us that they have nothing more to add. Well, tomorrow at 6:30, we'll have 2 experts on who both disagree with the increase, but for different reasons, and they'll react to Chairman Tripp's defense on raising that rate.